Alright everyone, Twitter has truly gone off the deep end at this point. Trump tweeted the other night, and I'm going to pull up the actual tweet if I can get around the cat here. I've only got 2 USB ports, so I have to use the fucking touchpad, but he made tweets last night with regards to the George Floyd looting at this point that's going on. I mean, it's gone past protest. At this point, there's a lot of looting and arson. That's not protest, and that's what he's addressing. But I'm going to read the one. First, I'll read what Twitter put on it, because it's nuts. This tweet violated the Twitter rules about glorifying violence. However, Twitter has determined it may be in the public's interest for the tweet to remain accessible. Now, first and foremost, let me debunk Twitter's excuse for putting this on here. Twitter legally can't remove Trump's tweets from the platform. It doesn't matter what he tweets. He can tweet out a picture of his cock. They can't do anything about it because a federal court has already ruled that Trump's tweets are protected in that sense. He can't remove them. He can't block people. Twitter can't. They'd be fudging the public record. His tweets are part of public record. They're going to be there forever. As long as Twitter exists, of course. They're all put in the National Archives, probably, in an actual archival program. Twitter can't do that. So this is bullshit, Twitter's, actual explanation here as to why they're acting in this manner for the first tweet in history that they've done this to. Let me read the actual tweet itself, and you can determine for yourself whether it actually glorifies violence, because I'm finding it real hard to determine how it does. These thugs are dishonoring the memory of George Floyd, and I won't let that happen. Just spoke to Governor Tim Walz and told him the military is with him all the way. Any difficulty and he will assume control. But when the looting starts, very American reference there, when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Thank you. Now then, let me ask Twitter something. In what way does this glorify violence? It's simply pointing out a simple truth. When people begin looting, there's going to be violence going on. These aren't protesters. I see people getting all up in arms, going absolutely bananas today because Trump supposedly he hates black people, he hates protesters. He's not fucking talking about protesters. He's talking about looters. They're burning their own fucking city to the ground. Now, I am extremely sympathetic to George Floyd and his family and so forth because it was a case of clear, cold-blooded murder. Honestly, I think in such cases, you should be able to make a stretch for premeditation and put those cops away for the rest of their natural-born lives. Burning your own city to the ground, though, and using it as an opportunity to break into stores and attack ATMs and stuff, what the fuck does that have to do with George Floyd? I'm not surprised that there's looting. I'm not surprised that there are race riots going on right now. I guess the rooftop Korean brigade is going to have to get involved at some point. At some point, if the mayor is not willing to utilize the police, they're forcing the police and firemen to stand down while Minneapolis is destroyed. At some point, if the National Guard doesn't get involved, private citizens will. We saw this before with the LA riots, and it was very, very effective. There were instances where people would have died if it weren't for the intervention of other lawful, law-abiding citizens that use their weapons, in many cases, to defend one another and their property. If I was living in the suburbs of Minneapolis, and I've got kids and a revolver at home, what the fuck do you think I'm going to do if an armed mob starts marching down the streets trashing things? They're going to be taking lead. And it's my right. My property can be defended. I don't have to ask the permission from the state government. I don't have to ask permission of the mayor of Minneapolis. I would be defending my family. What, you want my little kids to get torn apart by a mob or something? These aren't protests at this point. This is an unlawful assembly. It's not privileged under the Constitution. Destruction of property is already illegal. You can't randomly burn it. What? Burning down your local stores. People are saying, oh, I saw some idiot posting on Twitter, oh, those poor multi-million-dollar firms, they won't be able to cover the insurance loss. Yes, the Ma and Pa bookstore that they burned down, multi-billion-dollar venture, absolutely. Auto repair shop, some local businesses. By the way, there was an interesting news tip I was sent today. Apparently, Amy Klobuchar herself failed to prosecute the exact officer involved in this case. And not only that, there was a second tip, and it gets even weirder. Talk about memetics coming back to kick us in the ass. Apparently, the allegation is that George Floyd worked at the shop that he worked at for 7 years with none other than the cop that killed him. The cop knew the dude, had seen him on a day-to-day basis for 7 years, and still decided to asphyxiate it. Can you say it gets a little bit muddy and murky? Now, of course, that's an allegation that I saw from one source. It may or may not be true. This was a call-in sort of thing. If that's true, it is goddamn damning for that cop and could prove premeditation, and I hope it does. I hope he goes away for the rest of his life. But when you got some wheelchair-bound fat old woman getting, ripped apart by a mob and beaten half to death, when you have people burning down large swaths of Minneapolis for 2 nights in a row, and the city won't do anything, they won't even let the firemen get involved because they might get rocks thrown at them. Let the firemen respond by blasting them with a goddamn hose then, if they're getting attacked by rioters. If a group of people is so goddamn clueless that they're attacking firemen trying to put out a fire in someone's business or home, then fuck them. They're just a bunch of thugs and looters. They're not protesting. They're not protected under the First Amendment. Trump didn't do anything wrong. His tweet doesn't glorify violence. And by the way, is Twitter goddamn clueless, mentally crippled to the degree that they're willing to do this on the same day he's unleashing an executive order to respond to tech censorship? Talk about proving the dude's fucking point. Twitter is absolutely out of its depth if it thinks that it's going to win this particular engagement. When the American people on TV see dude randomly killed by cop, unarmed dude already on the ground, here's 7 minutes of him choking to death, they're really sympathetic with the people of Minneapolis there. When for the next 2 nights all they see is a goddamn war zone of blazes and people throwing punches at one another and shooting and looting, they get less sympathetic. This is the opposite of like the civil rights peaceful marching thing. People trying to equate this to the protests of the 50s for civil rights are goddamn clueless. You gotta be nuts, dude. You're insane. And the cops, by the way, they're being told to stand down. You should leave the job. Walk off the job and leave your city and tell your mayor to fuck himself. That's what you should do. If you're not going to be allowed to do your job, if you're just going to sit there twiddling your thumbs while your city burns to the ground, then fuck the city. Maybe Minneapolis shouldn't even exist. Maybe they'll just burn it all to the ground. Now Trump's saying the National Guard might have to get involved. The city's not willing to do anything. What the fuck else is going to be done? This is at the scale, at this point, of the LA riots. Do you really want one of the U.S. largest cities to fall into total anarchy? How the fuck is Trump doing anything wrong by telling people calm the fuck down or I'm going to send troops in and they will be shooting at you because you're breaking the law? What else? Who else is going to address the issue if not either the National Guard or the citizens? The local cops either can't deal with it or aren't allowed. The state maybe doesn't have the resources. Minneapolis is a huge city. These riots are encompassing thousands of people. This isn't 10 people decided to run down the street with rocks, throwing them through car windshields for a night. This is 2 nights of nonstop balls to the wall insanity to the point where people nearby this chaos are fleeing the goddamn city. Your residents at the moment are panicking and fleeing. In broad daylight, people burn down McDonald's. Yeah, I mean, and for Twitter to do this is absolutely fucking nuts. This is the first time, as far as I know, that Twitter has ever put a little rider in as an explanation for why they are improperly censoring a tweet. There is no justification to censor it, though. You can't possibly argue that this glorifies violence. You read it for yourself. It's on Twitter. You can't comment on it. You can't retweet it. By the way, that may itself undermine the court's decision in regards to the public nature of Trump's tweets. By preventing American citizens from actually interacting with it, they could be violating the law already. Twitter might want to goddamn reconsider before they end up with an antitrust suit against them or something. Of course, then again, they'll have people in Congress shielding them. Oh, Twitter's doing the right thing. It's good to see these billionaires standing up against mean bully Druffler Orange Man bad. That's basically their entire ethos. It's fucking stupid. I'm fucking tired of these bullshit morons pretending to have a single bone in their body that's geared towards human dignity and not just fucking making money and having power. That's all Twitter cares about. That's fine. It's good that a corporation should be led by cutthroats who want to make lots and lots of money. It trickles down to their other employees. And, of course, Silicon Valley giants tend to pay fairly well, by the way. Facebook and Twitter and stuff. Everyone wants to intern with Zuckerberg. I don't know why. Working for a robot overlord directly as opposed to indirectly, it seems more dystopian and ominous to me. That being said, I mean, come on. You gotta be crazy, my dude. This is nuts. I've become a lunatic, I think, by analyzing current events too much. I think I've gone too far down the rabbit hole. Jesus Christ. That's about all. Peace out.